Imagine the content of me in a loincloth hunting hogs. Imagine that content on Patreon.
I really hate this. Nick's
I would pay
uninvited.
for our Patreon to watch Nick hand wrestle a baby hog.
That would be epic. I would pay to
just a
watch that.
loincloth. Yeah.
I would pay.
The
Right on.
loincloth could be there or not. I don't give a shit. I just want to see it.
It'll fall off at some point.
If you don't get gouged to death, like
Oh, that's funny.
All right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to You Hate to See It interviews. Please remember to like and share this episode with your friends, and also join our Patreon to get even more content. I'm Adam.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Nick.
And today's guest is an author, TV personality, and TikTok star. Welcome to the show, professional caveman himself, Donny Dust.
Hey, how's it going?
So, Donny, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, no complaints. Just finished, doing a knife and getting ready to go on a little trip to Arizona tomorrow. But yeah, I'm doing it, man. No complaints.
Can we see the knife?
It's downstairs.
Damn.
Okay.
I mean, there's a bunch over here.
Yeah.
Kind of look at.
I've only spent like hours watching you make them on your TikTok, so
Yeah.
I
Right
guess
on.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
God,
one.
so
I mean,
cool.
that's an obsidian one, but
See, I feel like I've seen him make that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, that's the Makawaddle right there. You
Okay.
can kind of see it. I've got that Takar's dagger from a video game. That's that thing.
Okay.
I've got a drum. I've got War Club, that little bison horn one I did recently, and some other knives. And
Do you keep pretty much everything you make, or do you like
no,
give some away? Or I was gonna say, 'cause you make so much stuff.
yeah, some of it's kind of like impractical when someone asks for like a stone battle axe. It works, but I'm just not ever going to use it. Like, I have some of the axes that I've made in the past that are a little bit more, authentic and really apply really well into, kind of living out in the bush. But some of the crazy stuff, I'll give to, my sons, or I'll give to like some neighborhood kids and let them run around like maniacs. And,
Your neighborhood must love you.
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those ones. But that's I enjoy making a lot of this stuff, and for me, I'm always doing that stuff anyway. So like my youngest son going on like TikTok was like, hey, I want to go on this app. And I'm like, no, we're not, you're not dancing on an app and all that sort of jazz. And then he kind of showed me, and I kind of supervised, and I felt like a 40-year-old creeper, on this app. And he's like, just make some of your stuff. So I made some stuff, and then it just kind of spiraled out of control, if you will. So
I was gonna say, I think you might have been the first person I followed when I started watching TikTok.
oh, right on, man. I appreciate it.
I would like to say that makes sense, seeing as Jeff looks like a
Jesus.
younger version
There
of
it
you.
is. Knew it was gonna happen. There it is.
Yeah, I've had like a silver beard for probably the past like 10 years. So it's just, genetics, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's nice having good facial hair genetics, that's for sure.
Yeah. No complaints.
Yeah,
But
Nick, you should try that.
Yeah, Nick's really. I just cut mine because my wife has been really complaining about it. It was starting to get to that long stage, and she was really hating it.
I can just go mustache. I'll
That's
do it
worse.
Next episode.
It's so bad.
So, what's been your favorite item that you've been able to make for TikTok based off requests, or the most unusual one?
That's this guy. This is the Makawaddle. I just, I don't want to say I sleep with my doors open, but I would love for someone.
I just sent Nick a TikTok this morning that said, when you hear someone breaking in at 1 a.m. and it's just from the office, I'm just getting really excited, like, oh,
That's what I
it's
mean.
happening.
Exactly. I've got I mean, I've got stuff everywhere. So like in every nook and cranny of this little place that I rent, there's some sort of stone tool or implement that you could definitely, do some damage. But the Makawaddle was probably the one that it just took a lot of time and shaping this type of wood, which is Osage orange. It's super hard, and typically I use it for bows. But I don't know. It just feels right, So if anyone wants to come around, the doors are open.
Is that wood just native to the U.S. West, or where?
Yeah,
is that?
it's out in Oklahoma.
Okay.
It's kind of an ideal bow making wood. You have like you have like hickory, you have osage, you have hackberry, different types of bow woods, and that's just a really good, strong, sturdy bow wood. It's got a nice grain. It's easy to follow, and I've got a lot of Osage down in my little workshop, and sometimes I just I want to craft something that is 100% legit. Like it'd be kind of BS to like make something and have it fall apart. So I try to use good woods and good stone and the whole 9 yards.
When you are making your TikTok videos, do you have like a fake cave mock-up, or do you have a real cave nearby because you're always sitting in the cave, or do you like wait till you go on your travels and just stockpile video?
Go away, Finn. Sorry, that's my dog. He's getting jealous. So yeah, it's a lot of different things. So when I first went on TikTok, I was living in a series of caves. So I'm happily divorced, and I think you just got married. So
Yeah.
good luck in the future.
Thank you.
I'm not jinxing anything, but so I was out in the bush all the time, and I was living in these series of caves and kind of traveling around. And then when I get my kids, I lived in this lady's basement because I needed a place. So yeah, so then from there I kind of like slowly progressed, and as wintertime kind of hit and stuff, I knew it was important to have like an actual home for my kids. And like me, I never slept in a bed. I still don't like to sleep in beds. I've got a girlfriend now, so that's kind of a requirement to sleep in the bed, which is difficult at times. But for years, I would just sleep on a bison hide on the floor. My kids had beds and everything, but so yeah, between the caves and then where I go, I just kind of establish just my workshop that is full of animal parts and pieces. I mean, if I was down there right now, I could show you. I've got the hide of an elephant. I've got bison, and it's just littered full of stuff, bones. I've got wings of animals hanging above me. But that's what I do, is I just craft a lot of things, and it's not necessarily just for TikTok, because I kind of make my living by doing custom orders and then doing things for different TV shows and movies, where on like a movie set, they'll want a bunch of stone points because they're going to be doing close-up shots, and they want some authentic clothing, and they want some skulls of this and animal hides of this. And they'll contact like a guy like me. If I don't have it, I'll craft it. Maybe I'll go down and work on set as like a technical consultant, and kind of do that. So aside from like always creating and crafting and doing these things, I also run a wilderness self-reliance school where I bring people out in the bush. All three of you guys should go, and we can do a podcast in a cave. And
perfect. We'll bring a generator.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
But
and air mattresses.
No air mattresses. It's all floor.
Okay.
But yeah, so aside from teaching at that school, I have a couple pieces of property that I've picked up thanks to some of the earnings on TikTok. It's nothing extravagant, but I've got a place down in the Chihuahua Desert that I used to frequent all the time, and a place in New Mexico. So I'll go down there and do some filming and live out there for a week or two, and then come back and grab my kids, that sort of thing. But I mean, I'm really like everywhere all the time.
Yeah. So yeah, you mentioned your film and TV work. I'm sure the greatest thing that you've ever worked on is definitely Cardi Tries.
Oh man, yeah, that was that was a fun experience. I can tell you that much. Like, I got picked up in this like black Escalade at the airport, and I'm standing there in like sandals, a buckskin vest and like my green hat, and I'm like, what in the hell, just totally overdone. But I have to say, she was very friendly, very nice. She kind of knew who I was, knew my kids, and she was very, down to earth when the cameras weren't rolling and cameras kind of kicked on, and she kind of did her thing. But it was a fun shoot, and I think for me that's I mean, I've heard like a couple of her songs just through like random occurrences, but she's like, "Do you listen to my music?" I'm like, "No, I don't." I don't know. I don't know if you want me to tell you.
I don't think this is your target audience. I get it.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a good time. There was a lot of production for like a day and a half shoot where they had like multiple catering trucks, and I had like my own trailer, and this guy had like a designated assistant, and he was like, I'm gonna get you whatever you need, whatever you want. I'm like, look, dude, I think at that time I was 42. I'm like, I'm 42 years old. If I want something and you don't have it, I'm okay not having it. He's like, well, I'm gonna bring this chair around, and if you get tired in between the shots, you can sit on the chair. And I'm like, so I'm gonna break this down for you, man. I don't need anything from you. I'm totally good sitting on a rock, sitting on the ground. And he kind of looked at me and goes, look, man, I got one job here, and that is to just be your gopher. So let me do it. And I was like, all right. Sounds like a plan. But
so that's basically I'm a production assistant in film and TV.
Okay.
And so I totally get of like I did a shoot with a stand-up comedian Lil Rel, and
Right
he like him and like his entourage, all super super nice, didn't need anything, were asking me if I needed anything.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
guys, I can leave whenever I want to go get what I want. You're the ones that are like up in your rooms getting high, drinking, like doing whatever you're doing. So when you need something, I have to go get it for you. And they're like, no, man, like, do you want some food or something? Like, we'll go down and get you some food from the cafeteria. And I was like, no, I don't. I can get that. I can do that myself. Thank you. But
they actually cater here for me. So thanks.
Yeah.
Get out of there. Go. These dogs are everywhere.
How many do you have?
So I have Finn. He's my dog. My girlfriend has a dog named Akira. That's the same breed. And then we adopted like a Great Pyrenees giant white dog. That's good for the mountains. So 3. Awesome 3 dogs. Way too many.
Yeah.
Does Finn come with you when you go on like your trips and stuff?
Yeah. He'll usually attend some of the classes and some of the events that I go on. Like he was with me. I just did a 10-day class down in the Chihuahua Desert. And he comes along and scares up game and just does the whole thing. It's kind of a morale booster for some folks, but he's pretty good. He can last in the bush. I mean, whether I'm feeding him, some fish guts or squirrels or whatever, he's kind of content and home there.
Do you have any absolute horror stories from some of your classes? Things just go horribly wrong.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had some unique clients over the year. I mean, there was this one lady, and I brought her husband, and like her 2 or 3 kids out. And we went through the entire like 3 days. We did some camping and we did some fishing, the whole 9 yards. And then I kind of like look for some feedback. What could I do better? All this sort of stuff. And this lady was just like, I really would have enjoyed this course a lot better if there were chairs to sit on. And I was like, wait, what? Like a chair? Like we just walked 3 days into the mountains and you're wanting a chair? She just lit me up by not having, a chair to sit on. And I was like, look, you son of a bitch, like chill out, man. Like we're in the bush, sit on a rock, sit next to the campfire. You didn't, it's that sort of like, oh, easy. They get you when they're kind of like complaining sort of thing. And I mean, I've had, no major accidents. I mean, the occasional cuts and twists and stuff like that. But most people they're pretty savvy, and I keep a close eye on it, especially when, they're working with knives and, even stone tools and stuff like that. I mean, I've taken chunks out of my finger and given myself stitches. And I just make sure that when you're in those kind of remote areas, everyone's safe. If I don't get that warm and fuzzy, someone's wielding a knife, I'm like, all right, let's go look at plants, or let's go do something else and redirect, if you will.
So you wrote a book based on your experience having a heart attack at 37. What was that like, the putting that experience down to pen and paper and kind of working through that?
Yeah. It was I like writing. I consider myself a writer. I'm working on my third book right now, but once my heart attack kind of happened and I was living out in these caves, I just thought it was a great opportunity to kind of capture all of my steps in my recovery process, my mentality, and just that overall story. And I wrote it down on like a little notebook, a little moleskin notebook, and then once I got to a computer, kind of transcribed it. But it's just kind of how I like doing it. When you're out there, you're totally immersed, and you kind of have like nature at your back. You can kind of feel and really convey that message into the words and put it out on paper.
What was probably the sketchiest, most danger you felt while you've been out there, like either in the desert or mountains, or what? At what point were you, Donnie, like, oh, this is bad?
Yeah. Man, I mean, all right. So once I was a couple days into the backcountry and I was walking barefoot, kind of like adjacent to this trail, and I was walking, and all of a sudden there was a piece of glass sticking up, and it split right between my big toe and my middle toe, and it was like a good inch slice in that crack, and it was bleeding like a son of a gun. And I was like, all right, a couple things are gonna happen. It sounds weird, but I was like, you could potentially bleed out from this because it's a lower extremity. It's, even if you elevate it, you're immobile. You can't really do anything. And it just came down to taking off my bits of my shirt and wrapping it up in my closing my toes in between and wrapping it up. And then literally taking the next 4 or 5 days to slowly hobble back. But I was worried about infection that entire time, was because most people, they get a cut, they can typically address it, clean it, wash it, do that sort of thing. But as I was walking back, I was definitely worried about some form of infection or something to that extent. So that's kind of hairy. And then I think the last time I was in the Amazon, I made a boat, and I was paddling around these waters trying to beat this guy in this race. We jumped off this large barge in the middle of the Amazon River, swam to the banks, kind of raced over these mountains and through these jungles and waterways. And then once I got to this one waterway, I built a boat to get out on the water because it's just easier to navigate. And long story short, I just kept thinking, between the caimans, the piranhas, and the anaconda, I'm paddling like this on this boat after maybe, I don't know, a good 4 or 5 hours. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm so damn tired. Both my legs and my hands in the water. And then I'm working at a stand-up paddleboard. But sometimes that dark water, that kind of eerie water, you really don't know what's in there. And, is something going to wind up grabbing you by the leg and pulling you under? But
I was gonna say, Jeremy Wade spent a lot of time in the Amazon catching some wild shit out of there. And you're like, yeah, I'll lay on a piece of wood and put my legs in there.
Well, I was trying to beat him in this race, so I'm like, you know what? You lose a limb, makes for good TV. Let's make it happen.
I'm sure it will definitely make it to TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you have any encounters with the natives there, like some of the I guess
indigenous?
The indigenous or unreached tribes.
I mean, I came across there were some people that we were working with and kind of formed some good relationships with them, but no deep dark jungle tribes where they wanted to skin me alive and have me breed with their women or anything like that.
Throwing spears at airplanes and helicopters, that type of thing.
Nothing like that. But I mean, there's some good locals there that you kind of get to know, and I might be heading back down there to kind of go live with one of the tribe's family and just kind of hunt piranha and shoot monkeys and eat them and stuff.
Does piranha have a lot of meat on it? Is that something you can sustain yourself?
I mean, they can get pretty big.
Yeah, you can get some good saucer size. I mean, it's like a bluegill, if you will, like a little brim, maybe not the size of a crappie. Well, I bet I've seen some big ones, some crappie. Yeah, you can eat them. You can live on them. Absolutely. Like, because when I was down there, so I made this giant bow out of the natural plants that was out there. And then as I was looking for food, I built this shelter, this elevated shelter, was sleeping on it, did a hand drill fire. It took me forever because it was so hot and humid. And then I was kind of looking out over this like glassy water like area, and I kind of saw something moving in the water. I was like, what is that? I'm like, all right, so grab the bow, grab this like 3.5 foot long arrow, and I start making my way to the water. And I see this thing moving in the water, and I'm like, that's not a snake. What is that? Like a small anaconda? I'm trying to like rattle my brain and really see what it is. So I kind of jump up on this large mata mata tree that kind of extended into the water with its roots. And I'm standing on one of the roots, and I get a closer look, and it's a giant electric eel. And I'm like, oh man, this thing is on the dinner menu. And stood on that wood and just wrenched back with the arrow and pinged them in the head, and then pulled it out. And it was like, 5.5 feet long, and that big around. Just cut it up into pieces and ate all this yummy white meat, for the next 4 or 5 hours. But
Okay, so it doesn't taste gross. Okay.
I mean,
Or
when you're hungry,
or is it that
Yeah.
time? Okay.
Yeah,
I guess that is true.
yeah, I mean, when you're hungry, you'll eat anything. I mean, this past course we were eating mice and rats, and enjoying that. But
So when are you gonna grab Joe Rogan and you guys go hunt elk primitive style?
yeah, man, I
When's
don't
that
know.
collab happening?
Who knows? I'm not really. I don't know. I've never. I mean, like I've heard like his podcast a handful of times, but it's like I'm really open for anything. Like at the end of this month, I go down to Dripping Springs, Texas, on my buddy's 800 acres, and I'm gonna, put my loincloth on, build a shelter, and hunt hogs with an atlatl for the next like 7-8 days. I'll probably do some videos out there and make some fish spears and whatnot. But I mean, I feel pretty fortunate that as being 43 years old and kind of doing what I want when I want, and somehow being able to make a living out of it, so it works.
Yeah, how'd you kind of like, I guess we can go into like how this all started. Like, was this something like, how long have you been planning to like kind of live this type of a lifestyle? And like, was it when you got out of the Marine Corps, you're like, yeah, this is something I'm going to start doing? Just like go out
Yeah.
and trying to like just survive and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of started when I was a lot younger, and I was always going on, backpacking, camping, and rafting trips. And then, I did college for like 2 months. I smoked some weed there, and really wasn't my thing. So I was like, this is kind of silly. So I was working at a butcher shop, went to it. I was like, I don't want to keep doing this. Joined the Marine Corps, traveled all around, learned even more skills. And then when I got out of the Corps, I did like a little bit of contracting to, because it was just kind of like a segue sort of job. And they made me put on a tie once. And then I was like, this is horrible. And they're like, you need to cut your beard and do this. And I'm like, you guys are talking to the wrong person. So I kind of slowly started to pull my way out of that sort of world, that military sort of world. And then essentially, I was teaching classes kind of like freelance. And then I was like, you know what, you should just start your own business and try and make this your lifestyle. But in order to really teach and make it your lifestyle, you kind of have to really be into it nonstop 100% of the time. So it was kind of the idea of like lead by example. And like, if you're filming something, like people know when I'm in my workshop, and when I'm out in the bush, like, it's not like if you turn the camera around, there's going to be, my Toyota Tacoma sitting there with a cooler full of beer. It's all the little tripods and the mounts and stuff. I lug all that crap out there with me, so I can be remote and be in that environment where, it's 100% authentic. There's no like cut, and there's like a production assistant coming to give me a chair or anything like that. Yeah, it's I'm a one-man show. I don't have any employees. I don't have like a film people. Like, if it's beyond like a certain technical level, like I can't do it. I got a drone, right? So I got this drone, and it was around Christmas. I was like, all right, you want one, you should buy one. And now I'm too afraid to fly it because I feel like it's gonna just crash, or I don't know. So I've flown it like once, and I was like, all right, that's enough. And now it just sits in this case and whatever. So I do what I got to do.
So, what are your thoughts on the Discovery Bros, like Bear Grylls and whatever the other dude? I don't remember who the other guy was.
You know, I
the-
think like Bear Grylls and some of like the Naked and Afraid and all these. There's a lot of people out there that are on like survival TV, and I think if you understand the kind of intent and the message that they're trying to do, whether they're showing you certain, knowledge, skills, and abilities, or if they're trying to replicate a long-term survival scenario, as long as you can kind of understand the storyline, you might be able to like move past some of the BS. But I mean, some of it, as somebody who's been doing this for quite some time, you can kind of watch some of these things and be like, that's total BS right there. There's no way, X, Y, and Z. For example, when I was in the Amazon, it took me maybe like 4.5, 5 hours to do a hand drill friction fire, to the point where my hands were bleeding and I had these huge blisters, but I had to get a fire. And probably in other shows, they would be a little bit different. They might simulate, all right, practice doing this, and then we're gonna, bring in a lighter and just make the fire. So for me, anytime I do anything TV related, like I tell the entire production, I'm like, it's real simple. I don't want any extra meals. I don't want any extra support. If you want me to be my authentic me, you have to let me be in the most authentic environment. Like I want to embrace the suck. I want to experience the hardship. I want to go several days without eating, because that creates a hunger drive, where then you start thinking of new ways to hunt and trap and fish and scavenge up food. So my goal is to make it as real as possible. They all have been. I will say the Cardi B one, there was a little bit of, this is this scene, this is this scene. Cardi shoots a bow, Cardi does this, Cardi does that. But she ate rabbit jerky and elk jerky, and she was able to get a fire going with a ferro rod. So yes, there was like an established, all right, this is the fire scene. She was able to do it.
So like when you're out there like on that, like say for like the one down in the Amazon, like is the cameraman just like following you like the entire, like is he just on like the riverbank like, oh there he goes, or like
Yeah.
how's that working? Because I bet you're out there trying to hunt and that fucker's like opening a granola bar in the background and you're like, can you shut the fuck up?
Yeah. It's really good when you're with a camera crew. You really kind of form a bond. So let's say on that Amazon one, the camera guy was pretty much following me around everywhere, but there was an understanding saying, like, look, if I'm gonna pop off and go do this, or if I'm gonna get up and go investigate a sound I hear, I can't have you be like, whoa, wait up, I want to get it going. Like, you've got to be on, because I'm always on. And if I'm out hunting, you got to give me a little distance. So with good rapport with that cameraman, you can kind of establish kind of how you like to operate and how you don't like to operate. So in the example of that electric eel, I jumped up, saw the eel, shot the eel, and had my feast. Now, what a production might do is they might do what's called like a pickup shot, where they might be like, so look, we missed you jumping out of your hooch and going over to the water. Camera wasn't ready. So what we want to do is, once you're done eating, or on the last day of shooting, we're going to go back to that. We're just going to film that real quick, you jumping up, so then we can kind of continue on with the story, because you've already done everything in actuality, but they need to get a couple little shots in to kind of paint that full picture. Some productions do that, some don't. But once you kind of figure out that that's a little bit of a TV requirement, you don't mind, because like my camera folks on the show Mud, Sweat, and Beards, Erica and Jovan, they were just awesome, because if I was sitting there, carving something or doing something, they might say, hey, Donny, move 2 inches to the left. And I slide 2 inches to the left. The lighting's perfect. This is perfect. And then they make me look like a rock star. So I don't mind that. If you're going to try to intensify it, make the shot great and all this, awesome. But if I'm 5 days in and I haven't eaten anything, and you're like, all right, we want to do this big setup for the food, I'm like, screw you guys. I'm eating this fish. I'm eating the fish heads. Leave me the fuck alone, So you got to kind of have to ebb and flow with it, but it works out.
What's probably the most accurate like reality TV show with these everyday people, and what's the most inaccurate in your opinion?
Man, so I think the most accurate is probably alone. When you're on alone, you're truly alone. You have your 10 items. It's there's things happening kind of behind the scenes where you got to do like a radio check and you got to do these different things. But I know for me, when I got sick on alone, like I was sick, and I'm trying to cure myself, and there's all this stuff going on for me. But like I know other people are kind of doing the same thing. There's no, hey, we're just coming by to say hello. Like you're genuinely alone. If you slice your hand open, they want you to try and fix it first. If you're sick, they want you to try to get better. The only time they would, pull everybody out of the field is if there was like some sort of major, national sort of disaster or something super extreme where they needed to move everybody to safety. So like when I did Alone the Beast, we were caught in a tropical storm and they were like, all right, here's the deal. You guys can leave, but you have a good shelter. So we would prefer for you guys to stay here. I'm like, well, no offense, but you guys are sleeping in a rickety ass tent. I'm sleeping in this beautiful shelter with a warm fire. I'm going to stay in here. So those are very, very accurate. And then there's some like, you can see some of these Netflix survival series and stuff like that. And you can just tell they're canned and they have specific beats they're trying to, obtain. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there's some out there that I know they were filmed during the day, and then when the night would hit, they would shut down the production. Everybody would go to a hotel or they go to like a camp out that night, and then they'd pick back up early in the morning, put the individuals back in their place, and then kick it off again. I mean, there's quite a bit of that in various things. I personally, my first question, if they're like, hey, we want to, do this TV show, I'm like, all right, here's my left and right lateral limits. I want to do this, this, and this. I'm not leaving the bush. I don't want any food. Like it's my mentality is, if somebody's going to pay me to go on a TV show or be part of these episodes, this is the safest time I will ever be in my life out in the bush. Cause when I go out by myself, I have no safety people, on standby. I have no one projecting weather. So it's like, all right, I can be the safest as I am. So now it's, a great opportunity to really, really, truly push yourself. And, if you don't eat in 5 days, you don't eat in 5 days. And if you, smash a finger and it's bleeding open, try and fix it. So there's lots of things that, I try to push myself to in those TV shows.
I want to see a show of you taking like Jeff Probst out and being like, this is what you put people through. Now this is the real how you do it, and let's see it.
I would do it. I would definitely do that. I'm a big Survivor fan. I mean, I haven't watched it in years, but I like the idea of the show where it's like, there's some survival skills and stuff, but it's more like that back and forth between the different contestants and whatnot. Yeah, I'd bring Probst out for sure.
So like, who's like Donnie's like dream celebrity to like bring out into the wilderness?
So, all right, this is going to sound really off the wall, but I'm a fan of Gordon Ramsay, the chef.
I love Gordon.
Who doesn't love Gordon Ramsay?
He's awesome, man. I think it's his attitude, because he's like the top of his game. He's not afraid to tell someone their food sucks. He can back up everything that he does. And just like his attitude and kind of life is like, you know what, I'm going to do this for me, for my family, screw everybody else. I'm making good food. And if you suck, you suck. And I'll tell you, but like, I would love to go out and like shoot like a porcupine or shoot something crazy and then have him like chef it up and kind of go that route.
Make this into a Michelin star dish.
That's what I mean. Right.
Yeah.
It's like
that would be really
cool.
cool.
Wellington.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
I don't know if there's enough meat on a porcupine for a Wellington, but
3 or 4.
Porcupine's good. I like porcupine. There's plenty of meat.
What's the strangest animal you've ever eaten?
Strangest animal.
Oh, man, you said electric eel earlier,
Yeah.
which was pretty wild.
Electric eel. These like tree worms that grow in these trees in the Philippines. They're like huge. That's gross.
Guys,
Grubs.
we should go out with him. I want to watch Nick
Yeah.
cry.
No, I'm not. No.
I'm
I'm
down.
not eating bugs.
I mean, I'll also
I'm
cry,
not.
but
I'll probably
What, you're
break
gonna-
something.
You're gonna be leaving me there.
yeah. What's probably the one thing that you've eaten that you'd be like, I don't think I would ever do that again.
Oh man. Oh jeez.
If I
There-
could help it, never.
Ahoy. Relax, dogs. Go downstairs. Move. Go. Run. Get out of here. There's this grub in the Amazon that grows in this nut. You got
grub.
it is. They just
Oh.
when you bite them, it squirts and there's juices.
Oh.
The only the only positive side is the taste is like a sweet corn. So have you ever eaten like corn raw?
Yeah.
Super
well,
good, super
yeah.
sweet. But to get to that point, you got to like crunch the head and squirt it makes me gag thinking about it. Ah.
Just gonna take a drink of this Bush Light and not think about that.
Oh man, it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. Whew.
What's been your favorite location?
I would have to say the Amazon. I'm a big fan of the Amazon jungle, the people of the flora, the fauna. There's so much magic there, and it's raw, it's wild, it's dangerous. You can die. It's awesome. It really
That's
is.
usually like in my top 3 things of when I judge a place on like how likely am I to die here, and if I'm
Yeah.
likely to die, that makes it like one of the top places I've ever been in my life.
That's why we didn't
Exactly.
like St. Louis. That's exactly it.
If you can die, I'm like, shit, this sounds like a great adventure to me, you know. You can't
I've
beat
lived
it.
long enough. Let's do this.
Yeah. I've written a couple books. I've done my thing. So if anybody finds my body, I've done my part, you know. Wait.
So on top of that, I had this question that I've been thinking about. What is if there were no rules, like no limitations of like being able to get you there or anything? What is one place you would want to like just be out and spend like weeks at, like anywhere in the world?
Oh gosh, man. Anywhere in the world. I think like I don't know where these islands are, but like sometimes there's these video vloggers and they're on these like islands and it's like white beaches and palm trees and all that sort of jazz. If I could stick my body on one of those for like a good year, if somebody would just drop me off and be like, we'll be back in 365, that's it. I would love to just go there and just fish and drink coconuts and build hammocks and just kind of live out in that environment. I think it would be pretty amazing, pretty epic, because it's just gorgeous, and then it's warm. Yeah, you'll get some rain and probably tropical storms, but I mean you can move through that.
So what you're saying is you want Tahiti for yourself for a year?
Yes, pretty much.
I was
my
gonna
plan.
tell him Epstein's Island, I believe, is still for sale.
Oh, no!
That's my plan. That's my plan. I want an island. I'm like, I've been to a lot of cold places and I'm fine with the cold. I feel like my body was bred for the cold. Long hair and beard,
Yep.
You know what
As
it's
another
like, right?
long-haired bearded person.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you know what it's like to be cold. And I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of like being cold all the time. Let's try a warm location. And I mean, my girlfriend and I, we went down to Belize last year. We went and stayed in this little village with, there's a population of people there that were former slaves during the British era and in the Americas. So they all escaped and went down to Belize, and they still live in this village. So we went down there and, hung out with the folks, did some subsistence fishing and swam in this water and all this sort of stuff. But like that right there is awesome. I wasn't cold. Yes, I was hot, but it's like I can just jump in the water and go for a swim, spear some fish, bring it to one of the village folks. They cook it up. We're just having a gay all the time. So sign me up for that.
So you are a warm climate over the cold climate type of
No,
person.
I love the cold, but I would just like to visit the warm for a good
okay.
chunk of change.
Okay.
That'd be the jam.
So that's why you bought property in the desert and don't live in the desert. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What sent you on the Chihuahuan Desert?
Yeah, well, so I was supporting a movie in 2019 into 2020. I was hired as the safety coordinator and set medic because it was super remote. And I had been down in that area before, but once I was there, I really got like a good feeling for what it was and just the overall environment. And so the production was like 45, 60 days, somewhere around there. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to return here and I'm going to buy a piece of property. And it's from where I'm at, my chunk of land, it's like an hour and 45 minutes to the nearest town, and the nearest town is like one gas station, literally like nothing there. And I'm like, this is perfect. It's like if you got to escape the law or you got to bury a body, that's where you're going to want to do it. So I'm like, this sounds pretty good. So
Are you on the US or Mexico side?
I am on the US side, probably. Okay. You know where Terlingua is, Texas?
I can safely say I do not.
What about Big Bend National Park?
I do know where that is, yes.
Yeah. So it's close to Big Bend. So Big Bend is kind of like hugging my piece of property. And then my piece of property abuts the Big Bend Ranch State Park. And that's yeah, there's nothing out there. It's awesome.
There's news reports about how there's nothing out there.
Exactly.
I just think it's so funny how different our lives are, where you're like, oh, there's nothing around. Great, that's where I'm living. And I'm like, I need to be 15 minutes away from a Walmart or else I will literally die.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I turned down jobs because there were jobs that I was being offered that were like, oh, you're like 2 hours from Walmart and there's like a mom and pop grocery store, maybe 30 minutes from you. So I'm good. Thanks though.
Yeah. I don't know. I think like I have one boy that's going to be a senior next year and one that's going to be a freshman, but I already tell them, I'm like, as soon as you guys are done with high school, basically the youngest one, when you're done, like you'll see me when I let you know where I'm at, but I'm gone. Like I will not, there will be no homes. I'll probably be living in a yurt or a stone structure that I built myself, Finn, just wearing a loincloth, making stone tools and doing TikToks, I guess.
Is your girlfriend's on board with this plan too? Or
yeah, she's totally down. My girlfriend is she's 30, so she's 13 years younger than me, but she enjoys a good adventure. She's really good with like medicinal plants. And like when I came back from the Amazon, I had these parasites in me that were making me, go to the bathroom probably like every 30 seconds. But yeah, she whipped up a couple like natural remedies and teas, and I took those down. And I mean, she's a hunter and she's totally down for it. I mean,
probably costs you less than going to the fucking pharmacy.
Yeah, it does.
Big pharma.
Yeah, I'm of the mentality if I break something, I should know how to fix it. And that's in my car or something in my body or stitches or, I mean, I've got scars on my body where they're just janky left and right from poor stitching. But yeah, I try to live a little bit more, self-reliant and a little bit more free, if you will.
So you have obviously quite a few tattoos. Are any of them stick and poke?
Yeah, so the ones on my feet are stick and poke. So every year I usually get tattoos. I call it during like my cold season. That's usually like January, February, and March because I'm not as sweaty and as dirty. So I do the ones on my feet, the ones on my upper thighs, the ones on my hands. Yeah, I mean, once 2020 hit, I was like, I can't get any more tattoos. What's the deal? So I just made some needles, bought some needles, and just started doing them myself just to kind of give into that craving of some fresh ink.
It is significantly cheaper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My sister's doing the one on my chest.
Nice.
I just pay for the needles and the ink, and that is so much cheaper.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I mean, you can get like 50 needles, like 3 rounds or 5 rounds for probably like $40 and a thing of ink. I mean, you're like, holy cow. So, I mean, I
spent like 60.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I don't know why more people don't do it. It's just so easy. I know I like doing it on myself because then like this entire left leg is just covered with stuff. I'm like, let's do it, but I don't mind.
Him biting into a grub and it exploded.
Yeah.
Tattoo that on my thigh.
Yeah, right.
What's your favorite tattoo that you've given yourself?
On myself, I like the ones on my feet. So I have, 3 lines, 3 lines, and 3 lines that are stacked up, and it's like it represents me and my sons in any way you look at it. There's 3, walking together, one leading the front, so on and so forth. I have 5 dots on my right ankle for like my brushes with death, like really close calls where I should have died or I just kind of got out of that one. So I like those ones on there just because there's like little, symbolism behind there. And, my crescents and broken arrows on my hands, those matching ones. Those are like ancient Pictish, Scottish, Irish stone carvings. I really don't know what the true meaning behind them, is. But for me, I'm, from Scotland. My family's from Scotland. I got aunts and uncles and cousins over there. So, seeing them, it kind of like relates in a couple different ways. So the crescent for me is a great direction finder. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and you take the tip of the crescent to the next tip of the crescent and draw a straight line to the horizon, that will give you a cardinal direction of south. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, reverse it, cardinal direction of north. And for me, like knowing that, it kind of always gives you a direction to go, a direction to find your way home, a direction to get away from home. It's just a good reminder of direction. And the broken arrow is really just kind of like, again, reminder, kind of a story that if you, are afraid to take your shots, whether it's with the metaphorical bow, like the metaphorical life thing, I got to take my shots, or if I'm actually trying to hunt something and I don't take that shot, my arrow is already broken. It's already kind of having like a defeatist mentality and saying, I can't do that because it's too difficult. Well, if you're trying to take that shot, your arrow's already broken. You're not going to hit that target. So for me, it's, if you've got broken arrows and you've got a way to find your direction, don't overlook what these things represent, and take those shots when you got to take them, and always kind of know the direction you want to go. And, the crescent moon will kind of guide you there.
As Nick always tells me, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, because that's the only thing Nick says.
Way to steal a line from
that's
Wayne Gretzky, Nick.
That is the only piece of advice I've given that is worth taking. So
it's not even your advice.
Yeah. You shut up over there, all right? Peanut gallery.
Right.
Let him have one.
Yeah.
No,
God.
Absolutely not. Maybe when he doesn't
has
botch the beginning of the podcast, then I will.
Oh yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? No, I'll give that to you. Never mind. Yeah, fuck you, Nick.
What do you do just in day-to-day life that isn't being outside,
Fighting for
doing
survival.
nothing? Yeah. Attempting death.
Yeah, I mean, so
Watching
if
good
I'm not
TV
teaching
shows,
a class, like
or-
out in the bush, I'm working on my 3rd book. So I was able to close the deal with Simon and Schuster, and so for pretty much the past 7-8 months, I've been working on this book. So it requires a little time behind a computer, but aside from that, I do quite a bit of flint napping and just different kind of personal crafts that I might need in the some upcoming adventures, whether it's building a backpack or making some 4 shafts for an atlatl. You'd be surprised how many things I make and do that I don't put on TikTok. I'd say I put maybe like 15% of my things on TikTok.
God damn.
Yeah, because sometimes I just don't like filming it. I'm just like, I just want to make it and enjoy the process instead of like having to film it and edit it and all that jazz. So I keep it pretty pretty simple for the most part.
I was gonna ask if you get noticed out in public a lot, but I feel like you don't go out in public, so.
Do the deer notice? Like, do they start running?
No, I mean, there's times when I'm with my sons or my girlfriend, and we could be out at various things and, people will be like, hey, are you the guy from TikTok? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, it's that sort of thing.
How
But,
the fuck is that the thing they know
Yeah,
you for?
I don't know. I have no clue.
I'm gonna be real honest. Before I even learned what your name was on TikTok, I also called you the guy, and people,
Yeah guy.
I'd be like, the wilderness guy who lives in a cave and makes stuff, and they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, can you make this? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Adam
no,
talked to me about you
Yeah.
and described you exactly that way. And I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. And then he described your videos. I'm like, oh yeah, I see those all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. There's places that we go. We could be driving in the middle of New Mexico, pull into a gas station, and the attendant behind, recognizes me. And I'm very friendly and approachable. I usually say, oh, I appreciate you watching, shake their hand, ask what their name is, and, just kind of show a little bit of, appreciation of them. But I mean, my girlfriend and I, we were down in St. Lucia for a wedding, and the DJ of the wedding was like, oh my God, you're the TikTok guy. Holy shit. And I'm like, let's celebrate this joyous day of these two people getting married, And I mean, there's that sort of kind of random thing, but sometimes my son calls it getting sniped. He'll see somebody that he believes recognizes me, and they'll just kind of stare at me as I walk by or do whatever. He's like, Dad, you're getting sniped. So then I usually give him like a weird look or something like that to scare him away. And I'm just joking. No, I'm totally approachable. Most people will come up and say hello and I love your stuff, and and I just show my appreciation.
I like the idea of people coming up and asking you for an autograph, and you go no, and then you just hand them like a handmade knife and then leave. No, but here you go.
Yeah.
I've been visited by Wilderness Santa.
I usually spit in my hand and then shake their hand.
Can I get an autograph? Yeah. And
Yeah.
What is the one piece of advice for just if you're going on a 1 week backpack into, I don't know, the Rocky or just anywhere?
Yeah.
No cell phone or anything. What is the one piece of advice you would give someone?
Piece of advice. There's a lot of things I would say that might be, directed towards bringing a piece of gear like a knife or a ferro rod or a metal water bottle. But I think the biggest advice I would give is kind of go in with, I don't want to say nothing, but go in and try and leverage and create as many things as you can to truly learn from that wild kind of experience. So, and I'm not recommending to people, if you have no skills or background in this, to go into the bush with nothing. But some of the biggest successes I've had in my life is going into the bush with absolutely nothing and then creating everything I needed, from fire to backpacks to clothing to shoes to shelters, you name it. I think that is a good kind of kind of go in with an open mind and, kind of live outside that comfort. So don't take your knife, and see what things you can come up with, because creativity is that number one survival skill. So it's kind of invoke that, take that into action and see what you can create when you go out there. You'd be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing else.
Is that it, Nick?
That was my
Nick's like, I did my job. I asked one question and I was here. So how about you leave me the fuck alone?
All right. Well, so thank you so much, Donny, for coming on the show. Do you have anything you'd like to promote while you're here?
I guess if anyone's interested in my books, you can pretty much go to donnydust.com and find my book resources and some of the TV and film stuff I've been part of. If you're wanting to get a little wild and go out in the bush, you can go to paleotracksurvival.com. That's my website, and you can contact me through there. But I'm happy to promote you guys and your efforts and your actions. So when this comes out and it's posted and all that jazz, I'll definitely share it and put it on social media and rock and roll with it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, so thanks so much for coming on, Donny. It's been a blast, and I can't wait to
Indeed.
have you back on at some point.
Will do. I appreciate it, guys. Keep doing what you're doing, and keep rock and roll with it. And I appreciate the time, and thanks for letting me run my mouth. And
Yeah.
I'll keep doing my thing. You guys keep doing yours.
Yep. All right.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Right on. Appreciate it, guys.
Have a
Bye.
good one.
Please remember to like and share this episode with your friends, and also join our Patreon to get even more content. I'm Adam.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Donnie.
Why can't we hear Nick?
Yeah, I
Nick,
can't hear.
God damn it, Nick. You have one job. Maybe we should have taken a second for Nick to
We
learn how to
should've.
redo stuff.
Yeah.
We record in person one time in 3 years, and he's not important anyways. We have a replacement, so
All right. And today's guest is an author, TV personality, and TikTok star. Welcome to the show, professional
Okay.
caveman himself, Donny Dust.
Hey,
Hello?
it's a good
Hello?
one.
There you go.
Nick, stop it.
Nick,
Sorry,
you're
guys.
literally
I'm
ruining
sorry.
everything. Great.
This is awesome.
This is
It's burning really fast.
to get to that long
1, 2.
stage. And
Okay.
yeah, Nick, your mic's good.
Okay.
She
Sorry,
was really
I,
hating
I
it.
didn't think that was gonna go through. Sorry.
Gotta love Nick.
Yeah.
Gotta love
No
Nick.
one
No,
loves
no.
Nick.
That's true. My girlfriend barely likes me.
Oh.